My name is Amin Malhas. I work at Facebook. I'm a client partner for travel, tourism, and destinations. That means in the region, I look after the big airlines, the big hotel groups, and the mega events we're expecting, along with the destinations and theme parks. Um, Today's presentation is really a combination of three different topics. It's all focused on how our industry, which by all accounts was the hardest hit, um, can adapt to this new reality. They gave me an hour, which is longer than I'm usually used to. So it's a bit of a trial by fire. So the three topics I've combined. We'll start with understanding travel motivators and why it's important for your communications and the trends that we're seeing at Facebook. We'll then talk a little bit about discovery commerce, how you can surface products for people when they're in a mood to be inspired, not necessarily actively searching, so a little bit earlier in the journey than we as an industry are used to. And lastly, we'll cover messaging and how you can leverage messaging through WhatsApp, through Messenger, to reach customers, to engage them, and ultimately to convert them and deliver care. Yeah, that's the broad overview. So we'll start by talking about the motivation to travel, right? Why do people travel? And 2 years ago, this question was a little easier to answer. Things have changed. The travel motivators have become quite different. But this leads to an even sort of more foundational question, which is why do we need to know why people travel? Is it really important for us as an industry? And the answer that we found is that when you find the right motivations for travel, it leads to creative excellence and higher audience engagement, which translates into increased performance. We actually see 15% lower cost per ad recall, 13% lower cost per action intent, and 26% lower cost per action, which is the one you really want to drive, which means a search, a purchase, an actual action, when the motivation is correctly reflected. And like I said, we used to have it down to a science. So Expedia, who's speaking later here today, used to tell us that people are looking for value for money or reinvention. Emerald Insights would give you a list of travel motivators that you could tap into. Skift would publish its regular reports. And, again, even academic papers and Lonely Planet would do the same. Between all of those, we were like inundated with choice of insight on why people travel and how to message them and how to reach them. But the world has turned on its head. I don't have to tell anyone in this room. We went from the world is your oyster to the world is very much out of reach. And this has, sorry, I'm stopping for photo ops. And this has translated into three big trends. First, priorities have shifted. People tell us that now they want to visit friends and family. People tell us that they really are focused on sustainability in the face of this pandemic. It's important for them that they don't hurt the planet further. Options are rather limited. People are delaying purchases. We've seen over a quarter of people who are typical luxury buyers delay purchases. Half of the people in last July actually delayed their vacations. So basically everyone is looking to travel near where they are. If you're based in Dubai, you know this to be true. We're doing a lot more staycations. We are going to a few destinations, maybe the Maldives and Seychelles, but beyond that, or your home country, beyond that, the world is pretty much out of reach these days. And behaviors have changed. We see people now spending a lot more time with their family. People are opting out of staying at hotels to staying with friends and family. This has all meant that we need to understand why people are traveling even more than we did before. So the question to us as an industry is how do we move people from wanting to travel to committing to go in a world where things seem so unpredictable? And the answer is that we need to meet audiences where they are on their return to travel. Everyone wants to travel. We still see travel as a leading interest. It's actually gone, I think, from the first to the third top interest on Instagram. You can imagine in a pandemic where there was zero travel, for something that was out of reach to remain a top 3 interest was quite an achievement and says a lot about consumers. And we need to explore travel motivators through what we call beta typing or prototyping to pinpoint the most effective creating messaging. So how do we do this? What do we mean when we say beta typing? First, we need to identify motivators. What is your audience looking for? Why are they looking to travel? Establish a testing framework of sorts and iterate and scale creative. So where do we get these motivations from? We get them from past, present, and future signals. So we start with the historical reports. And historically, we know what people were looking for. If you saw that first slide where I showed Skift and Expedia and Travelocity and all those insight reports, people are looking for cultural immersion. They want to tick an item off their bucket list. They're seeking adventures, and they're looking for festivals and events, the Coachella traveler, if you will. We then did a lot of research around how people are shifting their behavior during COVID. And what I'm sharing here is the US-based insights. These are 5 micro shifts we were seeing in travel, but these apply broadly. So we've run the same research in the UK, in India, in Germany, in Australia, and we see broadly the same trends emerging time and again. The metrics might be slightly different, but the broad trends are the same. First, we see travel to less urban locations, seeing a resurgence. People are choosing to go to rural locations, more seclusion, less cities. People are less interested in crowds. They want to be less immersed with other people, and they want to be quite separate. Flexibility has shot up as an important deciding factor. So where flexibility was not a major concern because people fairly knew what they were doing, in this environment of unpredictability, we see flexibility becoming tying with convenience for third place in terms of attributes that are important to travelers. Road trips are making a comeback. If, like me, you focus on the aviation industry, this is not great news. But that's the reality we're living in. A lot of people are hitting the road, taking their car, going into the desert. I think, again, if you live in Dubai, you've probably made at least one trip to the desert this year. And reclaiming foundational relationships. So people are really focusing. I think the pandemic was an existential crisis as well as an actual health crisis. So people really reassessed what was important in life. Really, everyone basically called their mom. And now people are, and that's being reflected in travel. So people are visiting friends and family. We see people taking more family vacations and wanting to relax and detox. Gone are the seeking excitement days. And lastly, there's still a big focus on sustainability, especially with the millennials, the coveted 25 to 34-year-old crowd. There, 52% of them are considering environmental friendly practices, either extremely or very important when considering travel bans. Quick insight on this chart. If you look at the 18 to 24 bucket, the one that's just younger, sorry, I'm not allowed to move from here due to COVID, so I'm going to stay here. But the 18 to 24 bucket is slightly less. And it'll be interesting to see whether sustainability remains important or whether new generations are experiencing green fatigue. Ultimately, if everything has a green leaf on it, you'll get tired of it sooner rather than later. So we said historical reports, and our COVID research showed us that people are looking to drive domestic, looking for family and friends, relaxation, and sustainability. Lastly, we looked at social media, our own platforms, Facebook and Instagram, where people are having authentic conversations with each other. And we wanted to see what the emerging behaviors were. So we saw last-minute family vacations, so where people were bonding, small trips that were really meaningful, long treks, multi-generational, people connecting with their grandparents, with their parents, with their kids. This became very, very prevalent on our platforms. We also saw resetting and self-care, very important. People start talking about health, checking in with each other, taking mental breaks, focusing on their sanity. Really, in the environment that we all lived through, and I think we all went through a collective trauma together, this became very, very important. And then local, right? Close adventures, something different. Near is the new far, really discovering what lies within your primary catchment. And then outdoor cooking was really exploded. I don't know if you noticed this, but outdoor cooking, banana bread, suddenly everyone was making banana bread and everyone was baking sourdough. These were trends we observed. And then the bucket lists, these big trips, once in a lifetime, They still exist, and people are talking about them, as you can see here, but they're not happening anytime soon. People are saying, oh, maybe someday. And then ticking off local bucket lists. I think we all take for granted what is within reach, and so a lot of local travel suddenly became a bucket list item. We saw a resurgence of this idea of the great American road trip, hitting the road together, seeing new sights in the safety of your own car. And lastly, we saw extended stays, remote escapes, things of that sort just emerge. So we did all this social listening in order to see what emerging behaviors we were observing. And we saw people wanting to reclaim control, take a mental break, looking for nostalgia, and looking for remote escapes. And our wonderful brand strategists, with the beauty of alliteration, bucketed them into these 5 broad buckets. All these motivations bucket broadly under these 5 sub-themes. Reinvention, reinventing yourself anew, recharging, reconnecting with others, relaxing, and resetting. And these are the 5 broad buckets that we saw. Now, we took it one level deeper, and we said, what are the motivations within each of these? And I want you to read the caveat first. This is ever evolving. This will be different for your brand, for your destination, for your product. But this is one iteration of this model. But the idea is to think about, what are people looking for when they come to my brand? What are the motivations that my brand is helping them fulfill? And you'll see here with reinvention, it's about experiencing something new, broadening horizons, once in a lifetime, or going to a festival or event. In recharging, we saw people talk about exploration, spontaneity, and adventure. Reconnecting was very much about people and personal growth. Relaxation and resetting, so breaking the monotony, seeing something new, different scenery, nostalgia, etc. And the green is our attempt at mapping what's more relevant these days versus the red that's less relevant, right? So going to a festival or an event or partying as a way to recharge and get energy are much, much less relevant these days to travelers. We do all of this in order to to motivate people to travel initially. So you can use a motivator to tell people now's the time to travel, building consideration, creating relatability and brand affinity, or to nudge them. Once people are considering travel, you can use a motivator to really connect with their sort of inner narrative. And that's from a sort of a communication platform. So this wraps up the first section, which is around travel motivators. Again, the importance, I'm going to wrap up with one concluding thought, which is the importance of identifying your audience's travel motivators lies in the fact that it drives your costs for ad recall, for conversion lower across every part of the funnel. Next is what we like to call discovery travel, right? Travel is very much what we call appointment commerce. You talk to your friends or you talk to your family and you say, I want to go to this destination, or let's take a trip there. And you make a mental appointment with yourself. Say, at 6 p.m. when I get home, I'm going to sit at my laptop and I'm going to book this trip. And so it's appointment commerce. It's very much in a specific moment, in a specific time. You sit down, you book it, and you're done. Versus discovery travel, which is about surfacing products when people might not be expecting it, but are, willing to be influenced by your brand or looking for that moment of escape during their day. I'm going to show you a quick video. It's focused on retail, but the concepts very much apply to travel.
Shopping typically works like this. You realize you need something, like a new sofa, and then start searching for one. Along the way, brands try to get your attention in business by showing you ads for that sofa. Pretty straightforward. But for marketers, it also means they're only reaching people who are already looking. What about everybody else? What would happen if marketers flipped the script on shopping? And instead of helping people look for products, they helped products find people. This is discovery commerce. Powered by machine learning, it matches products with the people most likely to love them, based on the content they're already engaging with. It's connecting that perfect sofa to the right person before they've even started looking for it. And once people discover a product, it's giving them a seamless way to buy it, with fewer forms and fewer taps. For shoppers, it feels serendipitous and delightful. For marketers, it's the key ingredient for staying competitive and growing business. At Facebook, we're building tools that maximize the potential of discovery commerce, creating a better shopping experience for people and businesses.
So discovery commerce is centered around three big ideas. The first is curation through automation. Second is impactful creative, and then simplifying the actual experience. So the first one is about, actually let me dig deeper. Curation through automation is about, we currently only basically experience online things that we subscribe to, right? Pages we like, email lists we've actually clicked to opt into, or things of that sort. But this allows the machine learning algorithm, ours, to surface your brand to people who might be interested in it and who might find that content relatable, likable, and quite inspirational. And that's why personalization is not just a tactic. It's more of a movement. It is a way of thinking about your business strategy that is quite different than we've learned in the past. You had your audience and you wanted to protect them. Today, it's about finding audiences as broadly as possible, people you didn't think you could target in the past, letting the machine learning algorithm do this on your behalf. If you think about Netflix and Spotify as well are recalibrating their recommendation engine every 7 seconds. Can you think about that? Every 7 seconds, if you open your feed, you might see something new based on your past behavior. And that's constantly being recalibrated. I actually learned something new. These thumbnails that you see are automatically generated from the video content, and they're different for each person. So we might both watch Game of Thrones, but we will have clicked on different icons and different thumbnails. And the insight there is that what attracts me to click on a show might be very different than what attracts you. And that therein lies the idea behind personalization. You're landing on the same product, you're watching the same show, but the thumbnail through which you're reaching there is quite different. And that's, again, the idea of personalization. Because marketing against demographics, if you took any marketing course, this is what we learned. You split your audience, age, gender, geography, income, and I'll take bucket A. But that's not how the world works anymore, really. You need to start basically expanding your audience, looking at who within the audience could also convert through the power of machine learning, because it helps people discover your brand and not the other way around. Instead of you going and hunting for people, the people are coming to you. And it's this idea of transitioning from a push to a pull, because no two news feeds are exactly alike. So if two of us in this room pull out our Instagrams and we show each other, even if we follow the same exact accounts, even if we're similar demographically, our surfing behaviors will fundamentally alter the newsfeed that we see. Next is impactful creative, because targeting, finding people, is one part of the equation. Creative is really, really important. I think we touched upon that a little bit in the first section when we said finding the travel motivators, right? The message that you're going to tell people, reconnect, recharge, whatever message you choose. But it goes a little bit beyond that. Your entire creative message needs to be relevant and needs to be timely. Because we've seen sales lift be 56% impacted when the creative is of a high quality. I think all of us sometimes we see creative on digital, online, or even on our platforms that does not resonate. And you quickly flick through it. It is what we call thumb-stopping creative that you should be trying to produce. And it doesn't have to be complicated, by the way, because there is a lot of sameness. And there's small, producing an animation like this on Fiverr does not cost much. It is a very simple creative hack. It draws attention, it's animation. My theory, by the way, motion typically does better than still images on our platform. And a lot of advertisers just use stills. My theory is that this is sort of evolutionary behavior. We grew up in a jungle. We're looking for signs of tigers. So as you're flicking through, if something moves, you're like, oh, I need to go back and make sure it's not a tiger. So it taps into that sort of foundational reaction. And here, just to show you two quick brands, Grove Collaborative makes eco-friendly home accessories. And in order to show them, they show them in situations. So I want you to think, as you watch this video on the left, of how easy it is to produce something like this using a mixture of your phone and a tool like Canva, which costs $10 a month. Again, there is no complex production here, no CGI, nothing too crazy. I think even the plastic bag might be from IKEA. So it's quite simple, creating the sense that this is someone's home. Again, stories, because it's an authentic medium, it really benefits when it feels like it's a friend's story, not overly polished. Here's a different example. Carvana is a car buying service, and this is slightly more produced, but the idea is to give you a sense that it's really easy to do something. It's almost like a vending machine. So again, this is like more complex to produce, granted, but not beyond the realm of any animator that you can find online. And then there are influencers, right? Creators have become the window through which we see much of the world. I know for a fact that on a personal basis, I look to a lot of creators to discover new destinations and new locations. Particularly on Instagram, I keep getting served a Swiss waterfall. I don't know if this is a common experience, but I see a lot of Swiss waterfalls, and now I really want to go to Switzerland. But that's all the working of creators. This is not brands pushing their agenda. This is simply people that you follow and you find inspiring, showing you new destinations. So working with influencers is a big strategy. Now, I'm going to show a case study from Ittihad. Granted, this is like a mega global sponsorship with a really important football team, but I want you to think of and try to abstract the learnings from how you can create simple activations. If you're a small brand, find a micro-influencer in your neighborhood, in your city. There's no need to think super big. Our platform is very much serving large and small advertisers alike.
Etihad and Manchester City have been partners for over 10 years now. Last year we celebrated the 10th anniversary.
We are both very global brands. Doing branded content seemed a natural place to be collaborating. And in the last 4 years we've done different type of branded contents. And then we came into this content series with the Freestyle World Tour that is a completely different concept.
The Freestyle World Tour was very different by design. It was shorter, snappier, fun, energetic content designed to entertain a millennial and travel audience.
Our football competition traveled through 6 major Ittihad destinations, blending together the best of sports and travel.
We felt it was a success in its format through regular episodic content, allowing fans to re-engage on a regular basis. So Facebook and Instagram, they're a natural choice for the project and the campaign. As a brand, a publisher and advertiser, Manchester City have a significant presence on both of those platforms.
We had good collaboration as well with our account managers, I'd say, at Facebook, and help us maximize the impact of the content. So probably all the ingredients were there to make it a natural place for us to distribute the content.
It did brilliantly from a view perspective. Over 35 million views in total for the campaign, 17 million of those are on Facebook platforms.
Facebook platforms are strategic to us as a football club. The Brand Lift study was one of the new things we did this year, proving the ROI of the content is also important to us, right? And to our brand partner, Etihad in this case. We were able to understand that some of the metrics we got in terms of increased brand recall or increased purchase intention were almost 3 times bigger than the industry benchmarks that Facebook had with other airline type of advertising. So that was definitely an endorsement to the quality of the project that we had done together with Etihad, and clearly opens the door for more of those collaborations.
Campaigns are all about head and heart. It was crucial that we created a campaign that resonates both for Ittihad and Man City audiences. For Ittihad in particular, the campaign needed to promote and represent our brand ethos, our home Abu Dhabi, and everywhere we connect the people to the world.
I definitely encourage to do a brand study with Facebook, and all the learnings that we've taken from our brand study have helped inform other marketing campaigns. So applying these learnings to our wider club marketing and our efforts in the next couple of years.
So a couple of thoughts on that. I mentioned, this is a big global partnership. And agencies and people and presentations went into this. But the Ice Bucket Challenge, which I think we all remember from a few years ago, started with a $10,000 budget. That's something that's really cheap, affordable, and can create a movement. And if you think about influencers in that sense, there's stuff you can do. They mentioned that you should work with your Facebook team to work on a brand lift study. If you're a big brand, I am your Facebook team. If you're not a big brand, we have a self-serve tool called the Brand Survey Study, which gives you the same effects, actually, the same results. So I would urge you to look into that if you're looking to measure brand on our platforms. Lastly, it's about simplifying the experience. There's only so much that Facebook and Instagram can do. We can get people to your site. But if at the point they land, it's broken or it's slow or something is not correct, you're going to lose a lot of business. There's a last mile problem in digital. Everyone seems to think that advertising digitally, if this campaign doesn't work, that means it doesn't work. But you should look at the entire journey end to end. So from the targeting we talked about, to the creative, all the way to what happens after the click. Because the cost of friction and gaps along the journey is quite substantial. 20% of impact on conversion rates from a 1-second delay. Can you imagine that? If you're on mobile and your website takes 1 second longer to load, research has shown that you lose 1/5 of your purchases. That is insane. There is 1.4 trillion lost due to poor user experience globally when you multiply the metrics out. And then 21% abandoned carts because the checkout flow was too long. So when you're building that form, please ask yourselves, do I need these 72 fields in order to process this transaction, or can I get that data over time in a non-intrusive way? So lower friction is the message here. In April of last year, mobile web traffic increased by 11.4%. This is very much a doing of COVID. We were all spending more time at home, more time on the couch, and what used to be an on-the-go activity suddenly became an at-home activity. So we saw a shift in behavior there as well. So again, optimize every movement along the customer journey for mobile. Make sure your mobile site is working. Make sure that when you guide people through paid advertising and inspire them to your own website to explore, consider, and then once you do that, you can retarget them and reconnect and nudge them to take action through, and then ultimately conversion, that this entire journey, as they go from our platforms to your platforms to other platforms, this is all seamless and feels like it's coming from the same place. Because once it feels disjointed, once it gets slow, you will lose people along that way. And this is just some sort of top-line advice for reducing friction. Think of what your customer needs at each stage of the journey. Be the customer. Really have your kid, have your spouse, have your friend use it. Test and learn. Keep iterating. It's never done. It's never done. It is always in beta. And that's the beauty and challenge of digital. And then encourage growth through word of mouth. Because when people are delighted, I mean, if I take a survey of how many people told someone else the first time they used Uber, I think we'd get a large number of people because it's such an amazing experience. I mean, for me, just being able to walk out, that was amazing. Like open the door and just step out of the car without paying. Or now with Deliveroo, you just take the bag. Again, these experiences are talk-worthy. So think about how you can drive that for your own business. So again, just to recap, curation through automation. Let the system find people for you. Don't overbake the targeting cake. Make sure your creative is impactful. There are cost-effective ways to get that done. And lastly, focus on simplified experiences. I'm going to show you a really cool case study. You may have seen it. It is from German Rail a couple of years ago. And it is how they encouraged people through the power of amazing creative to travel locally.
This was just the beginning. Then we asked ourselves, how can we bring even more relevance and attention to each comparison? First, we developed an algorithm that searches for look-alike photographs. Through Facebook data, we found travel enthusiasts like Lucas who are interested in specific destinations. Geo-targeting pinpoints Lucas' current location and the closest airport. Another algorithm finds the destination airport. A search engine identifies the cheapest flight price for Lucas in real time. A unique social media price comparison, completely automated in an infinite number of variations.
One of my favorite case studies. So that's the section on discovery commerce, on using basically the power of creative and targeting. If you saw in that case study, there's a big targeting piece because people were identified based on where their location was, and the actual ad was generated live with the most current pricing. So it made the pricing basically quite dynamic and the proposition even more relevant. Lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about messaging before we break for questions. There's a big opportunity in an industry like ours where the complexity of the product has increased dramatically. People have a lot more questions. A trend we're seeing in a lot of our airline partners is whereas phone bookings used to be less than 5%, they are now nearing half the bookings because people have so many questions around travel restrictions and allowances and flexibility and fare changes and things of that sort. So there's an opportunity for us to bring in messaging as a cost-effective channel that is, quite unique and quite effective in reaching people. And you can see from this conversation, someone would like to schedule a massage for today, and they have a preferred masseuse. And the first two responses are automated. Thank you for messaging us. We try to be as responsive as possible. And then a human takes over. So you have this ability. Again, there are automated tools that you can use, and you can hire big developers to do this, or there are what we call instant replies. It's a feature already on your Facebook page that you can use. And you can create instant replies until you get to a phone or a laptop. And the reason messaging is so important is everyone's doing it. This statistic really worries me, I want to be honest. It says 87% of the global smartphone population messages. I'm genuinely worried about the 13%. I don't know what they're doing because I assume everyone is messaging. So but fine. This is the global average as it stands. And we know that all great relationships start with a conversation. People love to talk to each other. People miss each other. They want to converse. And they want to do the same sort of thing with brands. They want to understand and they want to connect. It's not so transactional. And this is where conversational commerce comes in. You could imagine a situation like this where we want to go to Tahiti for our anniversary next month. Can I see some hotel options? It's a very natural interaction to do this. Once you get to a search engine, you're sort of trying to figure out what the right query is, right? Top 10 hotels in Tahiti. So that's quite hard. And if you were going to call a travel agent, you're like, it's going to be a hold time. There's going to be an hour or so until I get off this call, so maybe I shouldn't do it right now. Whereas messaging offers this sort of asynchronous ability, persistence. Your message stays there until someone can get to it, and you don't have to wait. You can be doing other stuff on the other side of the line. And in business, relationships are everything. And every relationship, again, starts with a conversation. Because we believe that today messaging is the new mobile. It's a massive opportunity to tap into, and conversations can really deliver for your business. So I'll start with the first point around messaging being the new mobile. If you think about it, people are demanding a different type of relationship with brands. And the reason behind this is people have increased expectations of brands. The more we have the seamless economy, the more your groceries can arrive in 30 minutes, the more you can book a taxi and have it outside your door in 1 minute, all of this stuff that we are experiencing today, we are living in the future for all intents. The same expectation is going to carry through to every other brand. So in your travel brand experience, are you offering that same seamlessness is a question you need to be asking yourselves every day. Among people surveyed globally, 71% of customers expect companies to communicate with them in real time. People have a serious expectation for someone to be available and ready when they want the information and not the other way around. And that's why I mentioned the instant replies and chatbot type of experiences, because by leveraging those, you can create that real-time effect without having to deploy 5,000 people sitting in a room with shifts and all sorts of human resource management issues. People will pay for convenience. People tell us that 58%, so almost sort of 2/3 of the time, they will consider convenience over price when shopping. And actually, 69% of them want to save time and effort. Over half said they'd pay more for that convenience factor when deciding where to shop. So there's an opportunity to earn more revenue based on delivering that convenience. It's a growing opportunity. People's expectations of brands, like we said, are constantly rising. They want things in real time. There are 20 billion messages exchanged with businesses every month on Messenger. That's 1,000% increase from 2016. And this data point is just before COVID. You can imagine in COVID the massive dramatic increase that we've seen on our platforms. So everything is being done through messaging. Messaging has become natural. It's 67% of buyers surveyed plan to increase their conversational commerce spending. So I had an experience not too long ago where I needed an item. I called the store, and the person said, why don't I WhatsApp you pictures of that item? And we completed the entire transaction on WhatsApp, and the person, the delivery driver, showed up on my door with a credit card machine. So you can see how chat is becoming a very natural space and a medium to convert people to become buyers of your brand. And 1 in 2 people surveyed globally wish they could communicate with more businesses through messaging. Again, there's a latent need and an innate desire, not just to converse, but to transact over messaging. And we all know that travel path to purchase is complex, right? The average buyer takes 116 minutes over 43 days. They check OTAs for 70 minutes. They look for accommodations for 71 minutes. But once they make up their mind, they want it now. No one wants to wait. They're willing to research for a long time, but they don't want to wait. And they value personalization. So 54% of people who booked from OTAs say they desire on-location recognition from brands. This means that people want to be recognized for who they are. There's nothing like finding that note. I don't know, I like it. When you find a note with your name on it, even if it's printed and it's automated and the manager hasn't really signed it, but finding that paper in your hotel room is a fantastic experience. And I think this sort of reflects that type of expectation. And people on flights, they want live updates, they want news of discounts and price alerts, and they want helpful tips around, especially in this environment. With accommodation, they want discounts, helpful tips, and live updates, similar. And from discovery to convenience to connection, people want to talk to businesses about products and services. They want to make a purchase reservation online, and they do want to get support for products. So you can see there's a big, big demand again. And if you think about what parts of the journey you can use messaging for, it is really across the entire journey. There is nothing that a phone operator can do or a website can do that a chatbot and an experience over Messenger, WhatsApp, or any messaging platform cannot perform. So once you recognize this, you see the possibilities of this as a new medium and an emerging one. So from planning to post-booking, during the trip and post-trip, and customer care throughout. And everything, again, we talked about friction, avoid it like the plague. 55% told us they've abandoned an online purchase due to the hassle of inputting payment information. And 60% of hotel guests book on mobile due to its convenience. I'm sure you guys are seeing these statistics on your side, because when I first started in travel a few years ago, we were seeing that most of the research, over 50 or 60%, was being done on mobile. But then the transactions, when it came time to put your credit card number, you were doing it on a desktop. You needed that reassurance of sitting. And now we're seeing that metric sort of shift to meet the research numbers. More people are doing it on mobile. So just to summarize, conversation can deliver business growth. And just, I'm going to take you through one more slide. You can use bots. Again, I mentioned bots a few times. People want to message and are more likely to work with a business. So bots can win where there's sort of the easy stuff to automate. The complex requests. I have a family of 6, 2 of them babies. One of them needs special assistance at the airport, and we want 2 vans, is not going to be a request that a bot will solve. Not soon, but anyway, eventually, yes. But you can imagine the things where it's, your booking is confirmed. These are the rooms we have. What are your payment options? Things like that, flight alerts, gate changes, baggage claims, all of those things can be quite automated quite easily. And people are expecting messaging in the future. So again, from inspiration to booking while on the trip and to having chat support, you can use messaging across every part of the journey. Sorry, did you want to take a photo of that? Okay. Raise your hand if you want me to go back to any slide. So, let's chat. That's my email, by the way. Feel free to drop me a note. I cannot verify your Instagram, just for the record. I get a lot of that. If you want to ask questions, we have 15 minutes exactly. There is a mic in the back. Please ask questions. I always feel if there are no questions, I've either done a really good job or a really bad one. So if you have no questions, at least I need to know that. Any questions at all? Okay, I'll verify your Instagram account. No? Yes, okay.
Hello, thank you so much for amazing presentation. First of all, it was a lot of screenshots. I wanted to see what's your opinion about a chat putting on the social versus having on your site. Is this, of course, different sites has different traffic. If it's a smaller brand, has less traffic, and vice versa. So that's question number 1.
Okay. So our sort of philosophy on chat is you should think of the experience first. So build the logic of the chat and make it surface agnostic. Don't even, like I'm here working for WhatsApp and Messenger. I try to tell my customers, don't think of WhatsApp and Messenger. Think of what you want to do on chat, build that out, and then the surface becomes a consequence. So if I want to ping you on WhatsApp, you should give me that information, and if the platform allows that. Obviously, when you host it on your site, you can do a lot more customization, you can do a lot more things. So again, build the experience and see what each surface allows you to, but let the consumer drive it is always my advice. And then assess, are more people coming to my site directly or are they going straight to WhatsApp? And a lot of the time you'll see one or the other and you'll know where to invest more money. Again, shameless plug, you can put Messenger on your site so that it's fully integrated. So what you get on the Facebook page, you can get on your page with very little coding as well. But that's your choice.
Second question. Advertising on the Facebook versus Instagram. I noticed there's a lot of decline on Facebook. I feel like, but Instagram is going up. What is the future looks like? If you have any thoughts on that, thank you.
Sure. So different geographies have different behavior, and it's very hard to predict whether your customers are going to be on Facebook or Instagram. I mean, even people who tell me, my friends, like, oh, I'm now using mostly Instagram, but do you open Facebook? Oh yes, once a day. So you're still using it? No, but I'm using Instagram because I'm using it 7 times a day. It's a proportional issue. So, and a placement is a placement. So if I want to reach you, if you've opened Facebook or Instagram, I'm going to show you that placement. So there is really not much incremental advantage to choosing one platform over the other, unless you're doing something super platform specific. So, on Instagram talking about Reels or trying to encourage a certain behavior or a trend that's happening on Instagram, things of that sort. So that's the first part is, you want to focus on reaching people. The second part is to let the machine learning algorithm do it. And the key here is if you decide that you want to go for reach, you want to go for as many people as possible, then it doesn't matter. Then you're going to hit people. But if you start optimizing, and I don't know what your tech stack looks like, but if you start optimizing for an actual business goal, like I want conversions, then you should be agnostic as to where it comes from. Again, unless you have a really good reason. And by the way, we've run tests. So I've run tests where it's Instagram only, Facebook only, or together, and the together always does better in terms of an efficiency perspective. If there is a different reason that's strategic for you to choose one over the other, then that's a sort of a personal conversation that you need to consider for your own brand. But in terms of performance, I suggest you let the machine run and see where the conversion comes from. I hope that helped. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Hi,
Hello.
my name's Joanna. I'm an independent travel agent here, and I use Facebook for business page as well as Instagram. My biggest struggle is trying to keep up with the algorithms that change time and time and time again. So when I look at my insights and I use the information that's there, it can change almost overnight. So then I need another whole day or week almost to relearn. Is there going to be any consistency across these platforms sometimes? Because for me, it's about being able to provide a personal service along with all of the elements you've put up here.
Yeah.
But I can't reach, and I can't keep consistent messaging going when the algorithms keep changing.
So the algorithm is self-evolving in a way. It's a machine learning algorithm, so it's constantly evolving. So it will be kinder and less kind to different types of content over time. It's impossible for me to predict. What I can tell you is, one, I have a piece of good news, which I don't know if it's public. I hope it's public. This is a very public forum. By the end of the year, we're going to merge our organic and paid reporting into sort of one platform. So you'll be able to see results for both, so that this schizophrenia between paid and organic starts to go away, and you start seeing performance, and you start seeing what the opportunity cost is, what I could have gained had I paid. The second thing is, I would really urge you to use paid media if you're a brand. The algorithm was changed, like philosophically, a few years ago to favor friends and family over brands, and so that persists. And I would suggest that as a brand, you leverage paid media when you need to. As a care channel, that's a different question, and those are all free tools. Everything I talked about in chat is for you to build out. We have all those automation things, but the short answer is it's impossible to predict the algorithm for me, and I just gave you a really long answer to that simple question.
Thank you anyway.
It's my media training. I'm sorry.
Hi, very nice presentation. My name is Christian. I'm representing Giata from Germany, and we help thousands of hotels reach content parity. So we help them with images and text, while most of the times in the industry, the discussion was about price parity, right? One of the issues is that hotels have plenty of content, old and new, that they have no control of. This happens on Facebook, this happens on Google My Business, TripAdvisor, and so on. A combination of old, new, company generated and user generated, and they want some sort of control. How is Facebook addressing this? Thank you.
Sure. So on your page, you are effectively in control, and you can actually not allow people to tag you if you want to have full control over your brand experience. It's not something we recommend, because you should let users tag you, and you should it is ultimately social, and that's what we're doing. It's a social experience. It's not a one-way medium. So embrace that in a way. Leverage user-generated content that's nice, which I think you probably already do, and you probably work with creators. That's it. There's no easy answer. There's no tool to protect your brand from. We're not building the platform itself is social by design, and it allows for this. And so the old content, I'm not sure what you mean. Is it that they're unable to delete old content, or?
Exactly. Plenty of hoteliers are having renovations and they have a lot of imagery circulating online that is 5, 10, sometimes even more years old. And the end user might see a version of the hotel that doesn't exist anymore and they will say, well, I don't like it. It looks old-fashioned. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I want a new hotel. But they are new or they are renovated.
Yeah. And those pictures are on their page? No.
They're on different channels. Some of them user-generated, Facebook, TripAdvisor. Some of them My Business, where also the users can post.
Okay.
But of course, I wanted to ask for your position.
For our platforms, you have the capability to untag yourself from certain. So on Instagram and Facebook, you can untag your property from as an account. As a location, that's very different. That will always be there, and that you cannot control. But again, like you mentioned, this is a common problem. The other thing is to push your new images out and try to propagate those as much as possible, so that they get seen more better by the algorithm.
So to do your best to push the good content in order to make the bad or the old content go
Pretty much.
on the bottom.
Yes. As you know, I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, but I really like him. And he's like, every image you take, you should create 20 types of content from it. So you should cut it in different ways, animate it, put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram, put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook. Try and fill the content funnel so that you control the narrative. And that's sort of what his advice is. And I sort of like that. The more content, I usually have a slide which I show, which shows campaign performance when you use just one image versus 3 images and a video. It is through the roof. It's no comparison. Sorry, no comparison. You should always have more, and then the algorithm values that. Like the more content it sees, the better you'll perform. To answer the algorithm question.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions? I think we have 4 minutes left. No? All right. Well, thank you. Feel free to email me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's nice to see humans, genuinely. Thanks.